And good evening. Right now, millions of votes are being counted in California as we speak. And the high-profile races for L.A. mayor and for governor there are not over yet. Both Democrat and Republican candidates battling to lead the historically blue city and state. NBC News, though, can project that the incumbent L.A. mayor, Democrat Karen Bass, will advance to the November election. But that second-place spot is still up for grabs. And right now, former reality TV star Spencer Pratt, a conservative, is out in front of the progressive city council member, Nithya Raman. Only one of them, though, can go head-to-head with the mayor in the general election this fall. Bass celebrating last night, but it's important to note this is the first time in 2 decades a sitting L.A. mayor has failed to win a majority outright and has been forced into a runoff. Pratt already saying he will be the one to move forward, but those outstanding votes are coming from those critical mail-in ballots, which by law in California can be accepted up to 7 days after the election, as long as they're postmarked by Election Day, and historically mail-in ballots skew blue. What we're watching is another tight race, though, also there in the state for governor. Republican Steve Hilton, you can see, is currently out in front, followed closely by 2 Democrats. So could the governor's mansion really turn red this November, or will those mail-in votes change everything? We have a panel of political pros standing by to break it all down, but we want to begin on the campaign trail with our Liz Kreutz, live from Los Angeles.
Tonight, with votes still being counted in the highly watched race for L.A. mayor, former reality TV star Spencer Pratt predicting he'll advance to November's election.
The God wanted 5 more months of me exposing all the failures of our mayor, so it's going to be a fun ride. I hope she's ready.
Pratt currently in second place, while NBC News projecting incumbent Democratic Mayor Karen Bass has already advanced.
I don't care where you're from, when you got here, or why you're here. You are an Angelino, and we are gonna fight for you.
Celebrating with this post on social media, although it's the first time in 20 years a sitting L.A. mayor could not get a majority of the vote and was forced into a runoff.
We can do debates every Friday if she would like, because it's actually became my most favorite thing to do.
It's the latest twist for Pratt, a Republican who decided to run after losing his home in the Palisades fire last year and tapped into voter anger over crime and homelessness. And there's a surprising surge for a Republican in California's governor race, too. Conservative commentator Steve Hilton currently leading the pack.
When people say, how are you going to win in California as a Republican? My question is, how will a Democrat win based on the record that they are putting before the people?
But in this heavily blue state, he's in for an uphill battle. His likely opponent, Democrat Javier Becerra. If he wins, the former Biden cabinet member would be the first Latino to run the state in more than 150 years.
This is your state. Este es tu estado. November, here we come.
Liz Kreutz joins us now live from California there in Los Angeles. You're inside the L.A. County Ballot Processing Center. We can see people there working behind you. Walk our viewers through how long until we may know the full results.
Yeah, hey, Tom, that is the question. And yes, you can see all of these workers here busily working overnight, processing the thousands of ballots that are still coming in. We do expect L.A. County any minute now to drop the next round of results. It's still to be determined whether that will lead us to being able to project a winner in this mayoral race. And what we understand is that this will be all of the mail-in ballots that were dropped off at ballot drop boxes yesterday. So should be a lot of ballots that we're going to see the results from. But a lot of people say, why does it take so long here in California, Tom? It has to do with our state's vote by mail system, which means that it sometimes can take several days for all of the ballots to be received, counted, and then in tight races for a winner to be announced. Tom.
Okay, Liz Kreutz for us. Liz, great to have you out there. I want to bring in our political pros tonight. Hogan Gidley, you know him. He's a Republican strategist, a consultant for Mike Johnson, a former White House deputy press secretary for President Donald Trump's first term and a good friend to Top Story. And Mark Ramos is the chair of the Los Angeles County's Democratic Party. Mark, we're going to start with you since you're sort of the insider here. Is this race going to be eventually Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt?
Well, it's certainly trending that way, and it certainly looks that way. And I can tell you, as the chair of the LA County Democratic Party, I'm okay with that. I want a clear distinction between a Democrat and Republican in this race, especially with when Spencer Pratt is going to be running on Donald Trump's failed agenda.
How could Spencer Pratt, who is a reality TV show villain, zero political experience, zero experience sort of in the business community there in Los Angeles, fuel this campaign, get so much excitement that he's now propelled himself in what appears to be second place in the LA mayor's race. And you saw the stat there. It has been a very long time since an incumbent mayor has not won outright. So what is going on there? Is Mayor Karen Bass up to task for this election?
I think the mayor is absolutely up to task, Tom. Look, I think people are hurting. People are hurting all around the country. People are hurting in Los Angeles. I think, look, there's a Republicans in LA need a home. There's a Republican on the ticket. He's got a high profile. He's on social media. He's got friends in the media who give him airtime. I think it's all natural. I think it's fine. And at the end of the day, I feel very confident in saying I expect Mayor Karen Bass to be reelected as mayor of Los Angeles.
Hogan, you know, there's two places in this country you really don't want to be a Republican if you're running for office. One is New York City. The other is Los Angeles. So what is happening here? What did Pratt do right?
Well, listen, California has more registered Republicans than any state in the country, but it also has a lot more registered Democrats, which swamps out Republicans, and Mark knows that very well. Spencer tapped into something here, which I think was really brilliant on his part. He basically acknowledged what everyone in California already knows, that there are homeless people running rampant through the streets, crime is up, there's open-air drug use, there's feces on the sidewalks, they're utilizing needles, not to inject themselves first, of course, but to test it out on dogs. They have chained to poles to make sure there's no lethal doses of drugs before they inject themselves. And he said, all of this is happening. You've had a Democrat mayor in this city for decades, Democrat governance. Nothing has changed. You can't rebuild your house because of the state issues with all of the hoops you have to jump through. The regulations are crippling. You can't pour a centimeter of concrete before all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. All of the things everyone already knows, he recognized, packaged them up and said, isn't it time to make a different choice? It was a really brilliant strategy by him. He's done amazing work on social media and exposing how Karen Bass has failed the people.
Hogan, I sat down with him. I pressed him about whether he likes President Donald Trump, whether he wants his endorsement. Very smart politics. He didn't want to answer that question, right? But he is a Republican, 75% approval rating in the Republican Party for President Trump right now. It is his party. Can he keep himself distanced from the president for the remainder months of this election, because you know they're going to try to tie them together?
I think so. But again, it depends on how much he wants to be distant from Donald Trump versus how much he wants to be tethered to him. There are plenty of issues like the reduction of crime, cleaning up your city streets, allowing people to have lower taxes, things like that I think a lot of Angelenos would gravitate toward and appreciate. He can tie himself to Donald Trump in some ways, but then distance himself if he wants to in others. And as you pointed out, New York and California are just such different animals compared to a lot of the other states for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is that they do not like Republicans in the least. The vast majority of them don't. So if he needs to embrace him, he might, but chances are he won't need to embrace him too much. He wants to be someone different. He wants to be someone unique. He has proved to be that to this point, not tied to the party structures. And I think that's what a lot of people in Los Angeles want.
Mark, do you buy that, right? Is Spencer Pratt a different kind of Republican, or is he just MAGA with a Lakers hat on?
I think you hit it right on the head there, Tom. It's just a Lakers logo on a baseball cap. Look, crime is down in the city of Los Angeles. Homelessness is down. All the Republican talking points can be thrown about, but at the end of the day, Spencer Pratt has said he is supportive of Donald Trump's policies, that he is supportive of rounding up the homeless against their will and putting them into camps. He is going to throw down the Trump welcome mat for ICE and everything else. The city of Los Angeles is building after a tragic fire, which the Trump administration has done nothing to assist with. The Trump administration rushed cleanups, and guess what? That ground is now toxic, so rebuilding is being slowed down. Spencer Pratt is nothing more than a talking head, exactly like our president is. It's nothing more than getting clicks online and trying to get people engaged. But at the end of the day, Spencer Pratt is going to have to sit down and talk about serious policy issues, and we all know he's not up for the game, just as was exposed during the debates. This is not about one-liners. Yeah. This is about hard work and moving the city forward.
How are you convinced that the portion of Nithya Raman voters will vote for Karen Bass. They'll change their vote, or they'll at least show up, because Karen Bass was on the ballot and they didn't choose her, right? They chose somebody else, maybe even another Democrat we haven't mentioned. Are you convinced those other Democrats will rally around Bass when it comes election time in November?
I am, Tom. Here, look, gas is up over $2 a gallon in the state of California since Donald Trump started a war in Iran. The Nithya Raman voters are very much like the Bass voters. People are hurting and they're frustrated, and it's very easy to want to have a conversation about different policies. Nithya Raman herself has called Mayor Bass the most progressive mayor the city of Los Angeles has had. I understand the conversation that she wanted to have, and it's perfectly fine. But now we're going to have a clear distinction between Spencer Pratt and Trump's policies and Mayor Karen Bass's policies and the values of Angelenos.
Hogan, you made a smirk, or you made some type of sound there. We weren't sure what it was.
Yeah, I just laughed at the whole concept there. Listen, the people in that city have been suffering for decades under Democrat governance. Spencer Pratt is not just exposing it, but he's putting a face, a name to the problems that so many people experience. And you can whistle past the graveyard all you want to. You can try to say he's MAGA. You can try to say he's got the Lakers hat on, but just he's a MAGA Trump acolyte, whatever. None of that seems to be the case. He's his own man. He's cut his own path. And the people in that city can't rebuild because of the regulations there. The gas tax is the highest in the country in the state of California. It's a local tax that cripples everybody. The people know that. They're not swayed by Donald Trump because they don't even pay attention to him in California. They're worried about local issues, and Karen Bass has failed them time and time again. Now, listen, again, vastly outnumbered Democrats to Republicans in California. There's a good chance she just goes ahead and wins. But I will love to see this race head-to-head, Spencer Pratt, Karen Bass, between now and November. I think we're going to see some incredible fireworks.
We didn't get a chance to talk about the governor's race, but Mark, is there anything we can draw here about Republicans and Democrats from the state, or is this just a red mirage? And what I mean by that is that you have this guy, Spencer Pratt, who's getting obviously a lot of attention because he kind of came out of nowhere. You know, he has a following, but he kind of came out of nowhere in politics. And then you have Steve Hilton, who's somebody who was born in London, who was a Fox News commentator, who's now also going to the general election. Should Democrats be worried in California, or do you think this is a red mirage?
I think it's a red mirage. Look, Spencer Pratt and Hogan can try and run from who Spencer Pratt is, but when he has J6 insurrectionist advocating for his candidacy, I think it's very clear who Spencer Pratt is. As far as Steve Hilton's concerned, look, the Republicans in California are going to get their 30 to 35% of the vote, their vote share. It's exactly where it should be, and I am excited about Javier Becerra going forward and possibly being the next governor of the state of California.
Okay, Mark and Hogan, so great having both you guys. We thank you for being on Top Story tonight. We're going to stay in California because there's a wild story. We have a major update on that heroin hostage situation in Bakersfield. The FBI killing the suspect on the scene after he held multiple people hostage for 15 hours. NBC's Steve Patterson has the latest.
Tonight, a harrowing 15-hour crisis. This man strapping explosives to himself, spouting demands to authorities while keeping multiple hostages tied, terrorized, and held captive.
At approximately 4:30 a.m. this morning, that's when the hostage rescue team neutralized this subject.
Authorities say the suspect, 41-year-old Anthony Scott Searles Harris, was shot and killed at the scene by an FBI strike team. No one else was hurt, including all hostages inside.
The advisor is a male subject inside the bank with a bomb strapped to his chest.
Police called to the scene Tuesday afternoon when authorities say Searles Harris stormed an office building in downtown Bakersfield that also houses a bank, claiming to have an explosive device, barricading himself on the second floor, where he took 10 employees from the Kern County Superintendent of Schools as hostages. Some had additional explosives attached to them, according to law enforcement.
Negotiator. We still have no entry. We're talking through the glass.
5 of those hostages were tied up, officials say. Video taken during the crisis shows 2 people inside that building. Crisis negotiators able to secure the release of 2 hostages during the day.
The first being at 3:59 p.m. and the second being at 8:24 p.m.
But as the night went on, the suspect became more erratic, and knowing one of the hostages was diabetic, they were running out of time. That's when the FBI sent in their strike team.
Authorities say Searles Harris was an Army veteran, dishonorably discharged in the mid-2000s for going AWOL, and is a registered sex offender.
He was no stranger to law enforcement and has a criminal history of using weapons to commit violent offenses.
Steve Patterson joins us tonight from Bakersfield. Steve, it happened there just behind you. Do we know the motive yet here? And authorities are investigating if the hostages were targeted in any way?
Tom, authorities working on a motive. They do not believe at this time that those employees inside that office building were intentionally targeted by that suspect. But as said, the motive still ongoing. You can see police still on the scene. This is 12 hours after that suspect was shot and killed. They're trying to get to the bottom of this, to what amounted to a crisis for this entire community.
We're back with a terrifying incident in South Carolina. A woman in handcuffs sprinting away from a car, begging for help from a truck driver, telling him she'd been kidnapped. Jesse Kirsch has this one.
A woman in handcuffs sprinting down a South Carolina road.
Hey, we got a girl over here running for her life.
Watch the woman race toward this semi-truck with a swerving car right behind her.
Seemingly that car was trying to run that person over.
The truck's driver, Anthony Moore, telling me that he was driving Friday morning in Aiken County, South Carolina, when that woman suddenly emerged from the woods.
She ran up to my truck and said, "Please help me. He's trying to kidnap me."
You can see the man here, identified by investigators as 39-year-old Jonathan Willard. According to a sheriff's office report, the victim says Willard approached her while she was out on a walk, claiming to be with the police. He placed her in handcuffs, then into the rear of his car. The victim says she believed him at first, but got suspicious when he kept asking the same questions. Eventually, Willard pulled over, according to the report, and that's when the victim made her remarkable escape, running to the road and to more.
Did you for even a split second think this was a legitimate law enforcement officer?
No, sir. His face looked dirty. He was smoking a cigarette, had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Willard has since been arrested and charged with impersonating a law enforcement officer and with kidnapping after this disturbing scene caught on camera.
Yeah, disturbing is right, Jesse. What a horrifying incident for that woman and her family. Do we know anything more about the victim in this case?
Yeah, no doubt, Tom. According to the driver of that truck who I spoke with earlier, he says the young woman told him that she had actually just graduated from high school the night before this happened. The driver telling me that the woman said her phone and even her diploma were in that suspect's car as this is all unfolding. And then we also learned a little bit more from the sheriff's office report about how she apparently made her escape. According to that report, the woman describing that the suspect got out of the car at one point when it was parked, left the door open, went around to the trunk, and that's when the young woman tried to get out of the back door. It was locked, so she crawled to the front of the vehicle, got out, and then we saw this scene unfolding. Remarkably, she was able to escape, Tom.
Yeah, great she got rescued. Okay, Jesse, we thank you for that. Just ahead tonight here in Top Story, did former Congressman George Santos place illegal bets on himself? Why the DOJ was flagged. And a child thrown out of a car window landing on a police cruiser. Whoa! That is crazy video. We are back now with the monumental shift at CBS. Veteran anchor and 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley fired, and now firing back at the network leadership that pushed him out. Here's Aaron McLaughlin.
I'm Scott Pelley.
Tonight, longtime 60-Minute veteran correspondent Scott Pelley is firing back after being fired by CBS. Pelley saying CBS executives are lying about why he was let go from one of the top-rated shows in America. The longtime CBS reporter had blasted the new top producer of 60 Minutes and CBS News leadership in a staff-wide meeting, saying they are murdering the storied newscast. Pelley then met with top executives, including the network's controversial editor-in-chief, Barry Weiss, who said that despite attempts to engage with him, they weren't able to find a way back after she says he broke the newsroom's foundation of trust and mutual respect. Pelley also accusing management of wreaking havoc on the show and instructing him to inject falsehoods and bias into a politically sensitive story. As parent company Paramount Skydance's $110 billion merger with Warner Brothers Discovery awaits regulatory approval from the Trump administration. The ticking clock of 60 Minutes has been around for 58 years and near the top of the ratings for decades.
What we're really looking at is 60 Minutes, gold standard of journalism, most popular news program in America for over half a century, fundamentally being completely redone, rethought, restructured.
Barry Weiss, founder of a conservative-leaning website, was brought into the network to change things up. She cleaned house at 60 Minutes, getting rid of the show's top producers. And with 4 full-time correspondents recently out, only 3 remain, including the legendary Leslie Stahl, who is yet to speak publicly about the chaos at her show.
And tonight, a source with direct knowledge tells NBC News that the remaining staff on the iconic news magazine have been left feeling completely adrift. Tom?
Okay, Aaron McLaughlin for us. Aaron, we appreciate that. I want to get right to Dominic Patton. He's executive editor at Deadline, who covers TV, politics, and so much more. A good friend at Top Story. Dominic, good to see you there. It's interesting, right? There's been a lot of outrage over Pelley's firing in our industry. If you turn to social media, I feel like people are now picking sides, right? Depending on where your politics are. It feels like it's turning into a little mini culture war, if you will, with some critics coming out and saying, if you go off that way in front of staffers to your bosses, you should be expected to be fired, with others saying Pelley was trying to uphold the standards of 60 Minutes.
Very much so, Tom. I mean, let's look at a very specific example. Katie Miller, podcaster, and of course, spouse of Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. She was very vehement, as we put on a story we just posted recently on Deadline, very vehement that Pelley was simply out of touch. He was living in a world and receiving a paycheck that just simply was not part of what 2026 is all about. On the other hand, there were people who also have worked with him over the years who said, look, he was tough. He was resistant to change. He was a baby boomer in every way possible. But he made me a better journalist and a better person. This is exactly as you put it, Tom. And as we reported today, this is a culture war happening in real time, as CBS has been between the left and the right for decades. Back when Jerry Falwell wanted to buy it just so he could fire Dan Rather, when both Lyndon Johnson and Richard Nixon pulled out their hair, what remained of it, over what Cronkite said about them. So this is part of a constant in American politics. But in a way, well, as one person said it to my colleague Ted Johnson and I today, I've been around for a while, I'm paraphrasing a bit here, I've never seen anything like this.
So, Dominic, explain something to our viewers here. Maybe you don't know the answer to this question, but what is the strategy here, right? Because there's a big debate about what you do with linear television. 60 Minutes still has great ratings. It still makes money. Why does the leadership there, including Barry Weiss, want to shake up this show?
There are 2 reasons, I would say. First, there is no strategy. You're trying to fix something that isn't broken. And let's be clear, not only does 60 Minutes have a great audience and some of the biggest numbers ever on linear television, which is literally a miracle unto itself, as you and I know very well, but it has also been very successful in the holy grail land of digital, growing amazingly over the years since it put real effort into this. So in many ways, what you'd want to do is water those plants and keep them growing. The other argument here, though, and people have said this to me today, is, listen, we and Barry are trying to get ahead of the iceberg that's coming. And we know that eventually that linear television is simply going to end for the most part. So digital, well, put it this way, digital pennies are not paying what analog dollars did. So we need to get in front of this and we need to make some changes quickly. It's an argument. But is it happening in real time like this? Well, as someone said to us today at Deadline, we cover the news. We don't want to be the news. This is an embarrassment.
Nick Bilton is the new executive producer of 60 Minutes. He's going to lead that show. He claims he invited Scott Pelley out to dinner. He wanted to break bread. He asked to meet with him. Scott Pelley said no, didn't meet with him, dodged him. And then in front of the entire staff, Scott Pelley ripped him a new one. After that is when Scott Pelley essentially is fired a day or 2 later, after he has some meetings that go nowhere. So what do we know about Nick Bilton?
Well, we know Nick Bilton is a guy who we would call a real 21st century innovator, and all power to him. He is someone who broke some very big stories. Just ask Elizabeth Holmes, for instance. And he's also someone who has moved into other mediums, film, television. In fact, he has a couple of scripts he's supposed to deliver, as well as taking over at 60 Minutes. However, Scott Pelley, not so much. Scott Pelley referred to in that very tense meeting, which some called rude, and he just called a conversation, he said, look, Barry Weiss has no qualifications for her job as the editor-in-chief of CBS News, and you have slant or slender qualifications. I'm paraphrasing a little bit there. They were pretty harsh words. They went back and forth and back and forth. Bilton is saying that he wants to listen. He wanted to talk with Pelley. He did not appreciate what happened, and they terminated Pelley with cause immediately. Having said that, insiders tell us that Bilton is talking and listening to people. He wants to learn. I think that he is someone who recognizes perhaps what his strengths are here and what they're not. But at the same time, this has become a very, very, well, again, I'll quote from our own article that just went up a little while ago. Closed door toxic environment.
Yeah. So there were 7 correspondents at the start of last season. 4 of those correspondents have left. 3 were fired, and then Anderson Cooper decided not to renew. You have Leslie Stahl and Bill Whitaker, who are the 2 of the 3 remaining that are sort of the big names there. What is the smart money saying? Do Leslie and Bill stick around?
I think right now Leslie and Bill are going to think about what they're going to do. They're taking a breath, we've heard. They're looking at the situation. They're assessing things. These are veterans. These are seasoned, experienced journalists, acclaimed journalists. They know, like you, Tom, how to read a room, and they know how to read a network. So I think right now there's a little bit of a holding pattern happening. I think they want to see what goes down over the next couple days. I will say, though, when you're having a he said, they said argument with Scott Pelley arguing that what Barry Weiss and Nick Bilton are saying they tried to do to reach out to them, they had to have meetings with him, and he's saying you didn't do any of that, or you certainly didn't do it the way you're characterizing it. It does make this a much more pitched environment. And I think it's going to be very hard for some people to navigate through. And the other thing, too, is 60 Minutes has just finished its most recent season. It is usually now when the producers are in high gear, putting together next season's shows, putting together the segments, getting material out to the correspondents and other producers, and booking flights, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, some of that is happening, but also there's not a lot of the people there who used to be there. You talked about correspondents being fired or let go. Executive producers, other producers, leading people on the show have either been fired or have walked out the door recently. So there's a lot of bodies on the ground. There might not be that many soldiers with so many generals over at CBS News right now.
Dominic Patton, always great to talk to you. We thank you for that. We got to turn out Top Stories news feed, starting in Iowa, where a speeding train slammed into a semi-truck. Here you can see the aftermath. More than a dozen train cars crumbled. According to a local sheriff, 1 person was killed and another passenger was seriously hurt. The highway is expected to be closed for days. State police are now investigating what happened. Former Congressman George Santos has been flagged to federal authorities over his betting activity on Kalshi. That's from 2 sources familiar with the matter. They say the prediction market alerted the Justice Department after Santos boasted online that he would be going to President Trump's State of the Union address, then bet against his own attendance. In the end, he never showed up. We reached out to Kalshi and Santos for comment, but have yet to hear back. And a scary scene caught on camera in Georgia. Dash cam shows a truck crashing into another vehicle, and then a child gets thrown out of that vehicle, landing right on the hood of this police cruiser. This is so crazy. Somehow, officers say the kid walked away with only a few minor scratches. Yeah, that is impossible. Officials reminding the public to make sure to buckle up before every trip. A good reminder. And NBC News is now speaking to one of the 5 survivors who made it out alive from that cave in Laos. He tells our Janice Mackey Freire tonight he went inside that cave about 5 times before and thinks the 2 men who are still missing took a different path than his group. He also says he believes they're still there and fighting to stay alive. Okay, still to come tonight, an update on that CIA officer arrested after allegedly making off with millions of dollars in those gold bars. Our exclusive reporting on his ties to a nuclear sub-program. Plus, the new warning about Kratom, a supplement you can find at the gas station, why some say it's so addictive. Steve Romo standing by. All right, we are back now with an NBC News exclusive about the CIA officer who was arrested for stealing $40 million in gold bars from the spy agency. Sources telling our Courtney Cubie he was working on a highly classified military program at the Pentagon. Courtney joins us now. Courtney, what more do we know about why this officer was arrested and the role he played at the Department of Defense? I know you have new reporting on this.
Yeah, Tom, this is just becoming more and more remarkable the more we learn about this man. He's David Rush. He was a senior official at the CIA. And it turns out that he had been fabricating his history for years there. Now, what we now know is that he was essentially detailed or assigned to be the liaison from the CIA to the Pentagon on maritime issues. And specifically, he was dealing with one of the most sensitive topics for the U.S. Navy, and that is the nuclear submarine program. Now, we also learned that part of the reason he was assigned to this role is because he was requested for it by the number 2 at the Pentagon. That is the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Stephen Feinberg. Now, we have to point out, Feinberg has not been accused of any wrongdoing here. But as you mentioned, Tom, the investigators are now peeling back what may have been the role of this man, David Rush, as the senior official at the CIA. When they went to his house, they found, as you mentioned, more than 300 gold bars worth about $40 million, as well as $2 million in additional cash, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 watches, including Rolexes. And what we found out in the course of our reporting here, Tom, is that, in fact, this was all discovered when Rush requested large numbers of money and things like gold bars during the course of his job. When the CIA went back and tried to trace the money, they couldn't find where it had been used. That began this investigation. And now, again, we are unpacking more and more about not just the fact that this was a senior CIA official who was involved in potentially top secret events and issues at the Central Intelligence Agency, but he was now involved in very sensitive issues at the Department of Defense as well, Tom.
You know, people at home may be wondering, I mean, everyone reads spy novels, we've seen the movies, but is this something that CIA officers do have access to? I mean, can they quite literally get gold bars for whatever transactions that they may be up to? And again, they're doing covert business, so I wouldn't know, but is that something that's real?
So the CIA has declined to comment. That was one of our questions as well. Is this just standard practice that you need money and you request gold bars? I mean, the reality is they're not telling us one way or the other, but the fact that he was able to request them and then store, again, more than 300 of them in his house, it sure seems like it might be at least part of the job that he's got at the CIA, Tom.
Courtney Cubie for us tonight. Courtney, great to see you. Great reporting as always. We turn now to Top Stories Global Watch and a check of what else is happening around the world. We start with a massive fire out of India. Police say the fire killed 21 people and injured several others. The flames broke out in New Delhi, burning through a building that had a restaurant and a hotel inside. First responders say more than 40 people were rescued and rushed to hospitals. No word yet, though, on what caused that blaze. And another big upset at the French Open. Did you hear about this one? The #1 women's tennis player in the world, Aryna Sabalenka, bounced in the quarterfinals. She lost to the 25th ranked player on the men's side. Several top contenders have also been eliminated, including Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic. The upset guarantees that the two first-time champions will be crowned. Pretty incredible. And Universal's first theme park in Europe officially has a name. It's called Universal United Kingdom Resort. Here you can see a rendering of the complex. Our parent company, Comcast, says they're planning to start construction soon and that it will invest nearly $7 billion in the project. The resort is expected to open in 2031, about 45 minutes outside of London, hence the name. Okay, back here at home to new concerns about a controversial supplement sold legally across most of the country. It's called Kratom. The CDC warning it's leading to an increase in poison control calls, and treatment centers say more people are now seeking professional help to quit. Stephen Romo takes a closer look.
It's sold in gas stations, smoke shops, even health food stores. But some users say Kratom, marketed as a natural supplement, landed them in rehab.
I realized it was everywhere.
Meg Lemieux was 11 years sober from alcohol when she came across Kratom online.
There was this bit of an energy boost, but at the same time, a sense of kind of calmness.
Kratom comes from a plant in Southeast Asia, sold in liquid, powder, or tablet form, with claims of increasing energy, easing anxiety, and even managing pain.
Do you remember when you realized, okay, I think I have a problem with this?
I started waking up every night about 6 hours or so after I went to bed and feeling like I wanted to crawl out of my skin.
Lemieux says it led her to relapse with alcohol and into treatment programs for both substances. A new CDC analysis shows poison control calls involving Kratom reached a record 3,400 cases in 2025, up about 1,200% since 2015. Over that time, Kratom was associated with more than 230 deaths in the U.S. It has no approved medical uses, the DEA calling it a drug of concern, yet it's not federally controlled. 7 states and Washington, D.C. have moved to ban it. Jana Wu is with Northeast-based Mountainside Treatment. They started a Kratom program in 2023.
Kratom may help millions of people. We also need to acknowledge that millions of other people have also struggled and found it highly addictive.
And HHS now says it's focused on creating new guidelines specifically for dangerous synthetic and artificially concentrated products. NBC News reached out to multiple companies selling these products, but did not hear back. As policymakers consider potential solutions, advocates like Meg spread the word about the real problems Kratom caused for them.
If I feel ashamed and I hide it, then that's less people knowing how many of us are out there, you know.
With that, Stephen Rummel joins us now in studio. So, Stephen, the big question, I know you've been at this a year covering this story. Why is kratom so addictive?
Yeah, great question. It's not an opioid, but experts say that it responds to a lot of the same receptors in the brain that the opioids do, and the effects for the user can be quite fleeting. So not everyone feels those addictive effects, though. In fact, some people say they've been able to use kratom to get off of opioids, something that experts say needs a lot more research before they can actually recommend that. Many others, like Meg that we saw in the story, she says that it had disrupted her life altogether. And in so many of these states, it's still available right next to the chewing gum at gas stations.
Yeah, ruining lives, too. This is terrible. Okay, Stephen Rummel, good to see you as always. When we come back tonight, right here on Top Story, countdown to tip-off. Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. It's the Knicks versus the Spurs. We'll break down what to expect from the matchups on the court to the betting odds and ticket prices. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are back with the epic NBA Finals matchup set for Game 1 tonight. The New York Knicks versus the San Antonio Spurs, a championship rematch from 1999. New York looking to win its first championship in more than 50 years, while San Antonio hopes to bring home their first title in more than a decade. I want to bring in our good friend, front office sports host, and friend to Top Story, Baker Machado. Baker, so good to see you, man.
Thanks.
You got to be so pumped for this, right?
I am, and also I'm pumped for this studio. This is pretty nice,
cool.
too,
We got the hardwood, and of course, they cut the shot before I was doing my thing.
Budgets went up on this
There we
show,
go. So you have the Spurs who have the momentum. You have the Knicks who they have the entire tri-state behind them. Who's going to win this? And do the Knicks, is there a chance? Because I know Vegas is not betting on them.
Not right now. Right now, Vegas is betting on the Spurs to win this thing. The Spurs a 4.5-point favorite in Game 1, which is in San Antonio tonight. But as you mentioned, if you ask any person in New York right now who's going to win this, it's all Knicks. It's palpable right now, the energy in this city, who's been waiting 27 years for this moment. And again, the last time these two played was in 1999 in that NBA Finals. The Spurs won that 4-1. That was the second year for Tim Duncan with him and David Robinson, one of the last few years for Patrick Ewing and the Knicks. So the Knicks looking for redemption in this series, but they'll have to go up against Wemby, which is a tough feat.
And you took it from me. That's right. There's this one guy that they're going to have to get by.
All
Victor
7'4" of him,
He is the biggest NBA star, I would argue, right now. Both figurative and literally. 7'4". Look at this guy. He's a beast. Jalen Brunson on the other end there. Actually almost doesn't look like Jalen, right? It almost doesn't look like him. But Jalen Brunson, look at the difference here, right? Yeah. I mean, the points are similar, but you got more than a foot in height difference right there. So what do you think about this? I mean, I feel like Victor, like his whole life has been for this moment. Yeah. The team is playing red hot right now. But like you said, the Knicks have that energy.
Yeah, you have both those guys, Jalen Brunson and Victor Wembanyama, winning Conference Player of the Year MVP awards for their last round. And also a lot of people excited just for the ratings on this. The highest rated NBA Finals in the post-Michael Jordan era was the 2016 Cavs with LeBron versus Steph Curry and the Warriors. That brought in 20 million viewers. But I have to note, Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals just on NBC had 15 million viewers. So a lot of people expect this might beat that LeBron-Steph Curry Finals in terms of audience.
I hope so. We love the NBA and we like the excitement on the NBA. Talk to me about the odds. We talked a little bit about them. If you bet the Knicks, you bet the Spurs. How much money are you looking to win here?
You can. I think it was like 160 was the odds in favor of the Spurs so far in all of this. But look, a lot of people, if you ask them, a lot of people think this is going to at least 6 or 7 games here. One other sort of financial note I want to add to this, because a lot of people are making a big talk about the ticket prices to get into these. Obviously, Game 1 and Game 2 in San Antonio, the average ticket price, according to StubHub, is around $1,300. It jumps to $4,600 for Game 3 here in Madison Square Garden. But we have some reporting at Front Office Sports that says that James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, stands to make $20 million per home game in the NBA Finals.
Through the TV rights and everything else?
Through the TV rights, the audience numbers, the attendance, all of that stuff. They had made $12 million per game during the NBA playoffs, so they're going to make $8 million more per game in the 3 potential games in the NBA Finals.
And he's putting that money on top of the money he's making off Sphere, right?
Yes,
Sphere's red hot.
True, yeah.
I do want to ask you, so it's hard to get in the door, right? I think the cheapest ticket here in New York City, my son was asking me, $5,000 nosebleed.
Yes.
For nosebleed. One ticket, $5,000 bucks. So they're having this huge party tonight outside of the Garden, which may or may not be a good idea. Because if you've been to the Garden, it is right next to the Avenue right there, 7th Avenue, right?
Yeah.
And I just wonder what's going to happen. Penn Station, there's going to be chaos. How are they doing this?
So during the NBA playoffs, it did get really rowdy, especially during the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where they had to shut down a lot of these parties. Just today, the NYPD announced that they are going to allow these watch parties, especially the ones around Madison Square Garden, to happen. So immediately after this is over, Tom, I'm going straight over there to see some of those watch parties and basically mingle with some of those Knicks fans who aren't able to pay the tons of money to get inside the arena to watch the game. You mentioned almost $5,000 for the worst ticket. I've seen some tickets going for hundreds of thousands of dollars near the base of the floor.
Yeah.
So imagine if your team loses and you spent that kind of money on something like that.
But if you have that kind of money, you probably have it.
True.
I'm going to ask our director here, don't cut. Here we go.
Yes.
Okay, Brett, now cut to the single. Now cut to the single. The fadeaway. Cut to the single. Nothing but net Llamas.
By the way, better. You should be playing for the Knicks with how good that was.
So good to see you, Baker, as always.
Thanks,
Thank you for that. We got one more great story for you if you love sports. The sweet surprise for a group of young soccer super fans, an elementary soccer team in Queens, getting tickets to the World Cup. Chloe Malas has this one for us.
Find a new gate, Victoria.
For one youth soccer team in Queens, the road to the World Cup started in a school gym.
Because of a very special mommy that did something for us. Every single one of you is going to a World Cup game!
Tickets for each child to attend the World Cup match between Norway and Senegal later this month. The surprise coming after Wing Yi Sang, one of the players' moms, nominated the team for StubHub's Access New York program, which gives free live event tickets to kids.
I was very emotional, and I just was so happy for them.
The principal of PS 171Q says more than 90% of the school faces economic hardships.
They should have these experiences that others have. Like, why can't they have these experiences? They deserve it.
Many of the kids could hardly believe it.
Can you describe to me your emotions right now?
I'm like excited and happy. I've never went to the World Cup, and I've watched it every year since I was 2.
A little team from Queens
Is going to World Cup!
now headed to one of the world's biggest games.
We're going to the World Cup!
Chloe Malas, NBC News, New York.
What a surprise. All right, that does it for us. Thanks so much for watching Top Story tonight. I'm Tom Llamas in New York. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.